Good morning and welcome to Inside Texoma on this Sunday morning. I'm Melissa Kakarika and I'm joined by Joey Greenwood and Tanner Parsons. We're taking an inside look at a holiday tradition, the Fantasy of Lights. You probably know it very, very well. You've probably been to it many times, but you guys are going to tell us a little bit more about the history, right?
Right. Yeah, the history, we brought the Fantasy of Lights, the displays, onto our campus in 1974. So this is our 40th year to have the displays on campus, and it's been an exciting year. We've got some new displays out, some refurbished displays, and we're very excited.
And the actual history dates all the way back to the 1920s, though, right? Way before it was ever on campus.
Absolutely. In the late 1920s, Mr. and Mrs. Burns actually celebrated their first Christmas with just one Christmas tree on their front porch with just a single blue light on top of their Christmas tree. And throughout the years, as they became a little bit better off financially, they year by year they added one display after another, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And MSU was chosen to be the landing place for the Fantasy of Lights now. So.
Now, did it get to MSU because you just needed more space? They needed more space as it continued to grow?
I believe so. I've talked to a lot of different people, and they would go to the displays when it was on Clarinda at the Burns home, and I believe the displays just got so large there at her house that she needed a bigger place to display all of those displays.
And now, go ahead.
It became so large that she actually had to start hiring maintenance people to come to her house and work on the displays. And then I believe it was in 1970 when Mrs. Burns passed away, she left the Fantasy of Lights to the city of Archer City. And then Archer City, 3 years later, offered it to Midwestern if Midwestern would operate it for free. And then Midwestern kind of took it over from there. And that's how the Fantasy of Lights Committee was born, to, solicit funding for the Fantasy of Lights to pay for paint, electricity, and stuff like that.
And since it's been on the MSU campus, it's grown as well. I mean, I imagine the displays have changed over the years, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we've added, just last year we added 2 new displays. I'm not sure exactly how many displays Mrs. Burns had at her house, but I know that we have added several over the years, again with the 2 new ones from last year. The Nutcracker Carousel and the Toys Christmas were both new last year, and those have been very popular among the public this year as well.
Now, do you think because there is such a rich history here, because it's such a tradition, that's led to the popularity of the Fantasy of Lights?
I believe so. Ever since I was a kid, since before I could walk, my parents were taking me there and pushing me around the Fantasy of Lights in the stroller, and I remember playing with the bubbles and stuff like that. So I think that it's one of the most exciting things for a child to go to, and children fall in love with it, and as they grow, they continue to want to go to it. It's like your favorite movie when you're a child. You just want to keep going to it, and then you just keep passing that tradition on to your children, and it just kind of sticks that way.
So even if you weren't a part of it, you'd still be going every year.
Absolutely.
And in talking about that, what do you hear from people in the community as they come back every year? What kind of feedback do they give you?
It's been interesting this year. It was my first year of being coordinator. My wife and I volunteered at the boot collection the other night, and it was the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and it was extremely busy, which was fantastic. The weather was wonderful. I think that was a big asset for people coming out. People recollect a lot of when it was on the Burns family lawn and how it's grown over the years, and we just get a lot of positive feedback from the community. The community has been very gracious in donations to keep us being able to run the Burns, the Christmas lights each year, and it's just been a real positive feedback from the community.
It seems like the tradition really continues to, and that the history is still a part of it. Is that true?
Absolutely. Ever since I became the marketing assistant for the Fantasy of Lights, I've been able to operate a little bit on their social media page. And we had people in March, April, and May commenting on the Facebook page for the Fantasy of Lights, like wanting it to open, like we're so ready for the Fantasy of Lights to open. I remember when the Fantasy of Lights was at the Burns house, and just stuff like that. So it's amazing to see how the community is just so involved with this.
We're going to talk a lot more about what exactly is going to be there this year, the displays, when you can see it. It's going to be coming up after this break on Inside Texoma, so make sure you Stick with us. Welcome back to Inside Texoma, and thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, I am joined by Joey Greenwood, who is the coordinator of this year's Fantasy of Lights display at MSU, and Tanner Parsons, who's the marketing assistant, also taking part in Fantasy of Lights. Good morning, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And now this has been going on for about a week or so now, kicked off at the end of November.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what people can expect from Fantasy of Lights this year.
Right. Well, again, we did open on November 24th on Monday, and we completely renovated 3 of the displays this year, Flipper, Dumbo, and the Skater's Table. And one of the interesting things this year, the Burns granddaughter and great-granddaughter actually came back and they redesigned and refabricated the outfits for the Skater's Table, and they look fantastic this year. So to have that Burns family still involved after so many years, and they still adopt displays, and it's just, you know, we try to keep the displays as nice as possible through the donations. Again, this year we were able to refurbish those 3, and then we had the 2 new ones from last year. So it's just something new for people to see when they come out, and we've had a substantial amount of people out there this year. The sidewalks have been full, and the driving lane has been full, so it's been great.
And then when you say refurbish, are you making drastic changes? Say if somebody's been there years and years, are they going to notice a big change when they see those displays this year?
I think so. Not so much the color changes, but just the quality of the displays. Some of those displays are 50 and 60 years old, so trying to maintain those after setting out in the weather for so many years, it's sometimes hard to do. And the Kerrigan Career Center has been outstanding in doing those renovations for us.
So what you're telling me is they look pretty good.
Absolutely. We have a Fantasy of Lights work day as well, and I was able to go to that, and it's amazing to see the community come together and to clean all of the displays and to work on all of the displays. And there are some big changes that Kerrigan did, but also at the work day, it's amazing how much the community pays attention to just the little details, because you would look at some of the displays and they would just have like one scratch on them, and they would be like, no, we need to paint that scratch. And other people would be like, well, nobody's going to notice that, but we were like, no, we need to paint over that scratch. So it's amazing to see how involved the community is to making these displays look as good as possible.
And now in addition to refurbishing those 3, there was 2 new ones last year, is that right?
Yes, the Nutcracker Carousel, and then the Ernst family donated the Toys Christmas, which is it's right on the front part of the lawn. You can see it driving through or walking through, and it's really been popular among the kids. And there's so many moving parts and so many animated characters and colors, and obviously the kids love that. Parents love seeing the kids' faces light up, and then we love seeing the parents' faces light up too. You know, so it really is for people of all ages, from the infants all the way up to the adults. It's just great to see the excitement that this puts on their faces.
And now how many displays are there total this year?
We have 36 displays right now, and we have room for more. Obviously, that costs money. So one of the things that obviously we do each year is look for donations and stuff. So, but the 36 we have, we're taking care of those, and those look really good out there.
Now, let's say somebody hasn't ever been here, hard to believe, but if you've never been to Fantasy of Lights, how does it work? Because you can walk, you can drive. I mean, there's a couple different ways that you can strategize and attack, right?
Sure, yes. A lot of people do drive through. We ask that they dim their headlights so they're not blinding the people in front of them, basically. But I think to get the true experience, you need to get out and walk, bundle up, bring some hot chocolate, some coffee, and physically get out and walk around and see how each display works. I just think you can see so much more if you're out walking. And there's plenty of parking there on the MSU campus, and it's safe. You're not having to cross any major streets or anything. And bring a stroller if you have some little ones, or carry them along. And it's just a great family fun event to do.
Now Tanner's nodding his head, so I'm guessing you suggest walking as well.
Oh, absolutely. I went to opening night, and it was amazing to see all of the people walking around. Like, so many people were there, you could hardly even walk on the sidewalk, which was a good thing, because it was so packed, and that's amazing. And it was amazing to watch all of the people how much time they would spend at one specific display. They would stop and they would just look at the display. They would be telling their children about that display. So I think, yes, definitely in order to get the full experience, you need to get out and walk.
And it's going to be going on through the end of December, right?
Yes, our final night will be Sunday, December 28th.
And it's open every night of the week, is that correct?
It is. We're open Sunday through Thursday from dark until 10 p.m. And then on Friday and Saturday night, we stay open 1 hour later until 11 o'clock p.m.
Now, how long would you say it normally takes people to kind of walk through all the displays and take everything in?
I would say a quick trip would probably be around 10 minutes or so, but I know me and my family, when we have family come in from out of town, we can spend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half out there just walking around. Sometimes we walk through twice, so it really just depends on the person, I guess.
So you definitely want to get out there. It is free, correct?
It is free, yes.
So really, why should people come? I mean, just a great way to get in the holiday spirit.
I believe so. I think as families we get so wrapped up in shopping and doing some of these things, we sometimes forget the true meaning. And this really, to me, and just seeing people's faces, I think it really brings people back to the holiday spirit and the Christmas activities that are going on.
What about you? Why should people come?
For me, I remember, and I still do this today, I drive around to all the nice houses with all the great Christmas lights, and I'm still mesmerized by all of the Christmas lights. And the Fantasy of Lights is the peak of all Christmas lights. It's the peak display of Christmas time. So if you don't go to it, you're really missing out.
All right, well, we're going to talk a lot more about Fantasy of Lights because it isn't just the lights. There's also some other things that go on, including a 5K. We're going to talk about that after this break, so make sure you stay tuned on Inside Texoma.